Welcome back, my barbecue friends. Today, I want to give you the rundown pros and cons of the vertical stick smoker. I've owned this thing for 9 months and I have done some pretty hardcore cooks and then some cooks that were just, maybe one or two ribs on there. They were just light. So, by giving you the high points and the low points of this vertical six, I might be able to convince you to get one or steer you in a different direction, maybe get a horizontal. So, let's start with number one. When it comes to Pit Boss's vertical smokers, this is the largest one. It has 1,529 inches squared, so that's plenty of space for hosting a gigantic family party, or if you're going to get into catering. This thing will got you covered. Pro number two is definitely the controls that turns into a table. Extremely handy. You can put anything you need to on there. Pro number three is the work light that's on the outside that puts light onto the table, and then there's a light on the inside at the top that puts light on all of your barbecue. Pro number four, and this is very important, this cabinet has even cooking all throughout the entire thing. I've got a video that I did called Biscuit Test. If you haven't seen it, I'll put the card up here. Go check that out. It was very impressive on how the temperature range from top to bottom, left to right, pretty much stayed the same. Wasn't really any biscuits that got burned harder than the others. It's actually pretty impressive. Pro number five would be the easy to clean out burn pot. Like I've said, all you got to do is slide this thing out, take out all the ash and leftover pellets, put it in a bag, and chunk it over your neighbor's fence. Okay, I'd have to say the biggest pro I'll save for last is number six, and that is the VST controls, variable smoke technology. Now, the manual says higher P settings is useful in warmer temperatures. Well, I'm in Texas, and I could definitely tell you that it does get warm here in the summer. Maybe not right now, today, but I'm definitely going to give that a try. I've left it in PID mode this whole time. I have not tried this smoke mode. So I'm going to give that a shot. If you're in the cooler states, you may want to try smoke mode at a lower setting, lower P setting. Now, before we get into the cons, because the gloves are going to come off. No, I'm just kidding. There's only like 4 cons to this, and they're really not that big a deal, but we'll get to them. But first, if you enjoy the kind of content I'm putting out, why don't you hit the subscribe, the likes, and hit the bell for notifications so as these videos come out each every week, you're updated and you get the best info. Now, my biggest pet peeve, and this is the first con, it's definitely got to be the racks. Right now, it's sitting in there nice and neat with your food on there, putting weight on it. It's fine. It's not going to go anywhere. But as soon as you try to slide this out, you get to about there, maybe a little bit more. There goes your brisket.
This is the worst.
So I've turned the smoker a different direction to give you an example of what can happen. And this is the second con. My second pet peeve. Normally I have this up on the patio, but if it's facing in this direction where it's running downhill, this door won't stay where it needs to be. So let's say you're going in here to get your brisket or your world famous ribs. Everything's hot. You got your gloves on. You go to get it, and the door's like,
Ah, it burns! It burns!
That brings us to con number three, the latching mechanisms. Unfortunately, they're not adjustable. So over time, heat, cold, expansion, contraction, those door latches can become hard to latch closed when you're trying to lock the door shut. So this brings us to the last con, which really isn't a big deal. It's these boots. They're rubber boots that go on the handle. They slide on and off. I have managed to lose one. So in my opinion, the Vertical 6 gets a 4 out of 5 rating, simply because the cons don't outweigh the pros, and the cons that it does have really aren't that big a deal. And now that we've got the pros and the cons out of the way, let me give you one pro tip. If you are doing a cook that has multiple meats, maybe vegetables, think ahead before you start putting these on these racks. What you don't want to do is have ribs that you're trying to make showcase ribs for your family or friends that are going to be beautiful, and you put them down here, and then you've got corn on the cob up here, and all the corn's falling down onto your ribs. Nobody wants corn in their ribs. I'm Todd with Lone Star Smoke Barbecue. We'll see you next time.